Okay. We're ready to start. Welcome everyone to our last day of We Give Summit, our last session. Thank you so much for being here on a Saturday afternoon, well, noon, Saturday, really early in the morning for the West Coast. We really appreciate you being here. And we just heard from this amazing youth panel in our last session, and from two youth young poets from India, coming all the way from India. They were together in the same room sharing their powerful voices, and it just fills me with hope for the future of our world. So thank you so much. This has been an incredible week filled with learning and discovery and connection and joy. And it never ceased me to amaze. What never ceased me to amaze me is the power of our movement and of the collective. So, for the next 75 minutes, we will rally together, as many giving circles have done before, to learn together and give support to our friends in Ukraine. So Kaison is going to be sharing his screen. Um, and I'm going to just go over a little bit of what are we doing in the next 75 minutes, right? We have two incredible keynotes during this session, and we'll be going through a pop-up giving circle experience with interactive activities for us. So please be ready to engage. I know it's early, maybe you're in just your pajamas still, but if you can turn on your camera and let us see your beautiful face, that will be amazing. Also, if you sign up from Huba or you click from Huba the session, I will ask you to go out and then come back in on Zoom, because some people are having trouble turning on their microphones if they are on Huba. So just that. Okay. So for newcomers, we are going to start of what is a giving circle, right? A giving circle takes your mind, your talents, your financial abilities seriously and makes giving a collaborative social experience. They create caring, generous communities of people who act intentionally, thoughtfully, and strategically together. We love this definition that it's coming from our friends at Amplifier, a network of giving circles based on Jewish values. So there are 5 steps to having a giving circle. We'll go through all of this today, so I'm not going to go through each of them right now, but we're going to gather, discuss, decide, give, and engage. So the one slight modification that we are going to have today is number 3. Instead of putting a handful of organizations in front of you today, this time we already vetted and found an incredible organization and leader that is doing important work that we will present on. We heard from many leaders in the collective giving movement for the past couple of months on how we can all support the relief efforts in Ukraine. As a field, we wanted to respond quickly, so we're very fortunate to be able to partner with this great organization. Ultimately, when we think about the relationship we want to have with a nonprofit and a social impact organization, we want to move beyond the transactional relationship, as we have learned all these days, and around just giving, and move towards true partnership and a transformative relationship. We hope you will be inspired by what you all will achieve today, and the end result will be ultimately impact that is multiplied by the power of our group. More dollars, stronger community, a bigger change. So to get us thinking about multiplying our generosity, and particularly the science behind it, I am so delighted to welcome our first keynote speaker, Dr. Lara Aknin. Lara is a distinguished associate professor of psychology at Simon Fraser University. Her research has been published in various academic journals and has been covered in international media outlets such as CNN, Forbes, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. Her research focuses on the consequences of happiness and pro-social behavior. Most of her work examines how generous behavior makes people feel. She's a former fellow with the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research, chair of the Lancet's COVID-19 Mental Health Task Force, and co-editor of the World Happiness Report. She holds a PhD in social psychology from the University of British Columbia. Lara, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to queue up my slides. I think they are ready. There we go. Can everyone see them? I hope so. I can see some faces. Wonderful. So thank you so much for having me today. And thank you for the warm introduction. My name is Lara, and I am an associate professor of social psychology at Simon Fraser University. And today, my goal is to give you a brief introduction on some recent research of the science behind giving and how it makes people feel. But before I dive in, I'd like to introduce this idea with a New Yorker cartoon that I spotted several years ago. Now, this cartoon caught my eye because while seemingly simple, it does an impressive job of summarizing hundreds of studies on the relationship between money and happiness. So in this image, we see two dogs chatting in a backyard, and the light-haired dog tells his friend sitting nearby, "I've got the bowl, the bone, the big backyard. I know I should be happy." Now, this dog lamenting to his friend about his troubles finding happiness, despite his worldly possessions, reflects at least two important findings in the literature. The first is that the link between money and happiness has been shown to be positive but small. So in other words, people with higher levels of income typically report higher levels of happiness than individuals with low income at any given point in time. And second, people tend to predict a stronger relationship between money and happiness than the actual data reveal. Indeed, when we asked a nationally representative sample, from across the United States to predict the happiness of individuals across the income spectrum, we found that people predicted a much steeper or tighter relationship between money and happiness than the actual data reveal. Now, do these findings mean that money cannot or does not bring happiness? No, they don't. As the economist Robert Frank pointed out nearly 20 years ago, these findings simply suggest that people are not spending their money in ways that make them happy. So what can people buy, or rather do, with their money in ways that will increase their happiness? Today, what I want to talk about is some new findings from social psychology and positive psychology, which suggest that there might be several ways. And specifically, I'm going to talk about one which might be seemingly counterintuitive, although perhaps not to this crowd, is that one way to find joy from people's financial resources is to give it away by helping others. So this idea builds on a growing body of research suggesting that engaging in kind or generous behavior, such as helping a stranger, doing volunteer work, or engaging in random acts of kindness, can increase well-being. So in this brief talk, I'll be taking you on a whirlwind tour of the evidence, some of the evidence behind this claim, showing that spending money on others can promote the giver's happiness. Now, this work started when we asked a large group of over 600 Americans to answer two simple questions. First, we asked how much money they spent in a typical month on 4 spending categories: expenses and bills, people's gifts for themselves, gifts for others, and donations to charity. Second, we asked people to report how happy they were feeling. Now, to get a sense of how much money people spent on themselves and others in a typical month, we did some simple math and summed together these 4 spending categories into 2 spending indices. So specifically, we created an index of what I will call personal spending, which is how much money people devoted to themselves in a typical month. This included bills, expenses, and gift for themselves. And similarly, we created an index of what I'll call pro-social spending, which is how much money people spent on others in a typical month. And this involved donations to charity and gifts for others. Now, we wanted to know how these 2 spending indices related to people's well-being. And so we did some simple statistics. What we found was that how much money people spent on themselves in a typical month did not predict their happiness, but how much money they spent on others did. Specifically, the more money people spent on others, the happier they reported feeling. And this finding remained even when we controlled for people's household income, suggesting that it's not just how much money you have, but how you choose to spend it that matters for your happiness. Now, we followed up this work to get a better sense of whether spending money on others actually causes higher levels of happiness by conducting an experiment in which I went out in the morning hours on campus and gave a bunch of undergraduates some money to spend that day. Specifically, people received either $5 or $20 that they were randomly assigned to spend in a different way. So half of our participants were asked to spend this money in a personal fashion by devoting it towards a bill, expense, or gift for themselves. And the other half were asked to spend the money in a pro-social fashion by spending the money on a gift for someone else or a charitable donation. Now, we asked everybody to spend the money by 5 p.m. so that a research assistant could call them in the evening to find out how they were feeling. What did we find? Well, just as we predicted, students who were randomly assigned to spend money on others, regardless of whether it was $5 or $20, were happier at the end of the day than people who spent on themselves. So it seems that spending money on others does lead to observable benefits for our well-being. Here, people who spent money on others were happier at the end of the day than people who spent on themselves. But are these findings unique to North America, or can they be detected in other parts of the world, perhaps in places where people have less disposable income and may understandably gain greater happiness from spending on themselves? To test this question, I conducted an experiment with an international team of collaborators in which we recruited students from both a relatively rich and a relatively poor nation, Canada and South Africa. And we told these participants that they had earned a few dollars that they could use to buy a candy bag full of treats like juice or chocolate. Now, critically, half the students were told that if they bought this goodie bag, it was for them and it would be available for pickup at the end of the study. But the other half were told that if they bought a goodie bag, it would be donated to a local children's hospital and to a sick child there, which was true. After buying the goodie bag, we asked everybody to tell us how they were feeling. What we saw was the same we had seen before. People who were randomly assigned to buy a goodie bag for someone else were happier than those who bought the same treats for themselves. Importantly, this was true both in Canada, where most of our participants had extra disposable income, but also in South Africa, where a sizable proportion of our sample reported trouble securing food for their family in the past 12 months. Looking beyond these two countries, we've examined data from over 230,000 people in 136 countries. Excuse me, to examine whether donating money to charity in the past month is associated with higher levels of happiness. What we found has been consistent with our previous investigations, in that the relationship between donating to charity and happiness is positive in 88% of countries. In fact, these findings can be seen in this world map here, where countries shown in green indicate a positive relationship between pro-social spending and happiness. Countries shown in red indicate a negative relationship. The darker the color, the stronger the relationship. And as you can see, the world is mainly green, suggesting a pervasive link between generous spending and happiness around the world. All right, so giving leads to happiness, not just in North America, but perhaps in rich and poor countries. So at what age do we as humans begin to find giving rewarding? Well, some recent research conducted with infants and toddlers has shown that young kids help others quite frequently. And in fact, they often do so when it involves a sense of sacrifice. But why is that? Well, one reason might be that little kids, just like the adults we've been talking about so far, feel good when they help others. To test this idea, my collaborators and I ran a study with a group of 20 toddlers in which they were taken through a 5-phase experiment. They first came into the lab and were introduced to a puppet named Monkey. They were told that they could pet, touch, and interact with Monkey. They were also told that Monkey liked eating edible treats like goldfish crackers and Teddy Graham crackers. Then each child was given a plastic bowl with 8 edible treats of their own, and over the next few minutes was asked to participate or watch 3 key phases. In one phase, the child was asked to give one of their own treats to Monkey. In another phase, the child was asked to give one of the experimenter's treats to Monkey. And in a final phase, each child was asked to watch as the experimenter gave one treat to Monkey. Now, every time Monkey received a treat, he ate it in a loud and excitable fashion, leading his head into the bowl and going, and appearing to eat the treat. Now, obviously, you as adults know that a stuffed animal puppet can't eat the treat, but we convinced the kids that he could by using his nose to push the treat through a false bottom corner in the side of the bowl, so that when he lifted his head, the treat had disappeared. It seemed to convince the kids. Now, we wanted to know not just whether kids would complete these actions, but how it made them feel. However, asking toddlers just under the age of 2 to self-report their happiness can be a little tricky. So what we did was we captured each child's experience on video and later coded their faces for the extent to which they were smiling during these 5 key phases. What we found was that kids smiled more when giving treats away to others than when receiving treats themselves. In fact, what I found most exciting and surprising is that children smiled more when giving away their own treat to the monkey than when giving an identical treat that did not belong to them. Now, this suggests that the emotional rewards of giving might be especially detectable or larger when it involves a sense of self-sacrifice. So giving can lead to increases in happiness for the giver, but when is giving most likely to boost a giver's happiness? Well, research suggests that there are 3 key factors to keep in mind. The first is that generosity is particularly rewarding when acts of kindness allow us to connect or spend time with others. This may seem intuitive or obvious, but there are many ways in which we can give that don't require human contact. For instance, there are online donations, payroll deductions, or mailed checks, and these often preclude the opportunity for social connection. And this can dampen or undermine the potential happiness experienced by the giver. It's important to note that connection here can be with the recipient, of course, or with others, such as fellow donors too. And I think this is one of the unique and fascinating features of giving groups. They encourage donors to connect with others, and this key characteristic is likely to amplify the happiness people feel from giving. Giving may also be more rewarding when people believe they've chosen to give, rather than feeling forced to do so. An interesting study by Netta Weinstein and Rich Ryan illustrates this nicely. In one experiment, a bunch of students were recruited to participate in a study in the lab in which they were asked to distribute money. Now, half of the participants were in a had control over how much money to donate, and they got to decide how much, if any, they wanted to give to another person. Meanwhile, in the other condition, participants had no say in how much they gave. They simply had set amounts that mirrored the donations offered by those in the choice condition. And they simply had to distribute the money following those orders. It turns out that generosity predicted happiness when participants were able to decide how much they wanted to give. When their donation was predetermined, leaving them no choice, giving was not associated with happiness. So applying this information, it's important to provide opportunities and choice for people when giving, such as selecting what charity, what initiative, or simply how they give, whether it be their time, their money, or some other forms of in-kind support. Oh, there we go. And finally, giving seems to be especially rewarding when people feel that their actions have a positive impact on others. Demonstrating this point, my colleagues and I have recruited participants on a university campus to evaluate charitable appeals. They were asked if they would like to donate to one of 2 different charities, either UNICEF or its affiliate, Spread the Net. We selected these 2 charities because they help similar targets, but one of them does a very good job of identifying its impact. In fact, on its website, it says every $10 buys a bed net to stop the spread of malaria through Africa. Meanwhile, UNICEF also does great work in a similar region of the world, does not offer this kind of direct information about how donations are used to make a difference. So we asked participants if they would like to donate to one of these 2 randomly assigned charities and how much. Interestingly, we found that the donation amounts did not differ to these 2 different charities, but the emotional consequences did, and quite dramatically so. When people donated more to Spread the Net, they felt quite a bit happier afterward, but there was no such relationship between generosity and happiness when people were giving to UNICEF. Larger donations did not predict greater post-giving happiness. So I think these findings underscore the value of finding ways to give in which you and others can see or learn of your positive impact. So the take-home message I'd like to leave you with today is that giving to others can improve your own well-being. This is especially likely when giving provides an opportunity to connect with others, when giving is freely chosen, and when givers can see the positive impact they have on others. Giving in ways that increase happiness is valuable in its own right. Most people want to feel good, and the fact that most people experience happiness from helping others is a pretty wonderful feature of human nature, if you ask me. That said, giving in ways that increase our happiness is also important because happier people are more likely to give. In fact, there's a virtuous cycle between generosity and giving. Giving leads to happiness, and happier people are more likely to give. So lean into your generous nature and enjoy the warm glow of giving. Thank you.
Lara, thank you so much. This
My
was
pleasure.
amazing. And just, seeing the little kids, teenagers. I mean, yes, yes, I think all of us here, you're preaching to the choir because we know, right, how happy it makes us to give. And when you were talking about, the social interactions, it's like that's what giving circles are, right? Like that is why they are so successful, because you are with friends, you are with people that share your values, and you're giving together. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for joining us on a Saturday morning. And I know you have to run to the T-ball game for your son. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Okay, people, so now it's time for our pop-up giving circle. We're so happy to have you here. Again, I know it's early for some of you. If you can turn on your camera, that would be great. If not, we won't judge if you're in your pajamas or anything like that. So don't worry about it. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping and reminders for our time together today. Please take space and make space. We are going to go into breakout rooms. Don't leave. It's not scary. It's just about, meeting each other. Um, we will have a few polls and opportunities to engage. So please engage with us. Dig deep. Giving is a very personal choice. This is a safe community, and we want you to dig deep into your values and beliefs around giving. Bring the joy. We know that the issues facing our communities, our world, are serious and painful and heartbreaking. But that doesn't mean that making change together and giving can be a joyful experience, as Lara just told us. And lastly, be generous. Giving circles multiply the impact by the power of the group. So we invite you to give a personally significant gift throughout this experience and contribute to a cause that is larger than yourself. Okay, so now I am going to pass it to the amazing Isis Kraus. Take it away, Isis.
So happy to be here with all of you bright and early here in Los Angeles for me. So what we want to show you through this pop-up giving circle, which basically takes a year-long process and squishes it into 1 hour, for all of you that are excited about starting your own giving circles or are curious about what this looks like, we want to show you the steps through the next hour. And the first step of any giving circle is that you need to gather people. You literally cannot have a giving circle without people. So that's the one and first and most important part. Check, we have that. You're all here with us today in this Zoom, and we're going to get to know each other in just a second. The second step that is so amazing about giving circles is that they talk about their values. This isn't always done in philanthropy. Or in giving, think about how often folks, ask you at the checkout counter to donate, to a random organization that, is huge. Giving circles, on the other hand, are about sharing your values and building that community and going deeper. And when I say the word values, what do I even mean? Probably you've thought about your values in your life or in your work setting. And often we don't think about our values in a giving context, but it's a really powerful way to think about why you're giving, what you care about, the decisions that you make with the money that you have. Back to what Lara was saying, you might value equity or joy or transparency or trust, fun, power, leadership. There's so many amazing values that you can consider both for yourself in your personal life and through your giving and philanthropy. So what we're going to do is combine those two steps together for our first breakout. And what I'm going to have you do, we're going to go into, I think, 2 breakout rooms. You'll get the chance to meet about 10 other folks, 15 other folks in this room. Share your name, your pronouns, where you're zooming in from around the world. And then would love for you to find an object, something in your house that represents one of your values. This could be anything, something on your desk. If you value community, you could go get a fork from your kitchen and talk about how much you love sharing and breaking bread with others in your life. So quickly find an object in your house, and then we'll be sharing those and answering this fun prompt. I am of the people who value, and in that case, I could say I'm of the people who value community. All the time, I bring people together over shared meals, and that's why I'm sharing this fork with you today. So we'll see you in the breakouts. We'll be there for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to continue with our pop-up experience.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I loved that. We had so many amazing objects in our room. We had coffee grinders and an amazing purse with devils on it and a notebook, and these representative of community and love and solidarity. So it was an amazing conversation. What about the other group?
In our group, we had board games. We had a baby. We had a little shovel for the garden. We had more babies. We have family pictures. So it was really special.
No, I love that. Wonderful. Okay, Sada, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Isis. And Kaison, can you share your screen? Awesome. So we are going to be sharing our values. So all those values that you mentioned, in the chat, there is a link. Just write there your values, your top 3 values or 1 or 2, because we're going to find what are the values of our group as a whole. So we are going to be looking at this live, how it's going to be popping. So did everybody got the link? Okay, we're starting to see equity, community, justice, community growing stronger. And you cannot believe how many times we do this, and community is always at the top, right? We're social beings. And also equity, which is extremely, it fills my heart with hope. We see trust, justice, empathy, generosity. Okay, everybody had a chance to do it. I see 14 people have put their values. If you have not done it, take a second to do it. And we're moving. Okay, so we're going to write down generosity, community, and equity as our values for today. Okay, so now as we are reflecting on those values, think back of those people in your life that have influenced you and have influenced your values. Particularly now think back of your favorite childhood teacher or adolescent teacher. If you don't have one, maybe it's perhaps a mentor, a coach, someone you looked up to as a kid. So please write in the chat the name of this teacher or mentor. I want to see those names coming in. Professor Deschamps, thank you, Kelsey. Lori Reader, high school drama teacher, love it. Leslie Ann from Miss Tanner, Professor Tamayo, high school English teacher. Mr. Fanning, thank you so much for sharing these names. Maternal grandmother, yeah, it doesn't have to be a teacher, school teacher, right? Counting professor, good, Susan. Your mother, grandparents, thank you for sharing that. So what would your life be like without that person? Think about that influence. If given the opportunity, would you be willing to make a meaningful gift on behalf of this person, right? So I want us today, and also reflecting on what Lara talked about her research. Just think and dedicate this hour that we're spending together to that teacher, to that mentor. So we're going to be dropping several times during this hour the Grapevine link of our pop-up, because some people need more time to others to start putting your information there or whatever. And we're moving along. So we talked about creating community, and we talked about our values, and now we're going to discuss and learn. We're going to discuss and decide how are we going to show up in this time of need for Ukraine. Where can we use our time, our talent, and our treasure, right? So when we're making decisions on our giving, we like to point out 4 principles of powerful philanthropy. And the first one is a strong, diverse, representative leadership of staff and board. It's very important for us and for you to think that when you are supporting an organization, that the people, the clients, the people that that organization is serving, it's represented in the leadership, right? Because community knows what community needs. We need those voices of the community to be part of the leadership and the board of the organization. Powerful programs connected to their mission, of course. That's, common sense. Transparent and clear financials, the budget that is relative to the grant size that we're going to give, and the close connection with community and the impact for the community that they serve. So this leads us to our next keynote. Philanthropy, as you know, literally means love of humanity, giving with an abundance of heart. So today we're going to hear from Zoya Lytvyn, a Ukraine national leader who will share firsthand about education for youth in Ukraine. I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting Zoya in Vancouver at the TED conference last month, exactly last month, where she delivered a really moving talk on her firsthand experience living in Ukraine and what is happening right now. I am honored that Zoya is joining us today, and she will ground us, each of us, during this pop-up experience. Zoya is not only a Ukrainian educator, she's a public activist, a reformer, and an entrepreneur. She's a member of the supervisory board of the UN Global Compact in Ukraine. In 2019, Zoya was awarded the Empower UN SDG Challenge as the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year in Eastern Europe. And during COVID-19, Zoya and her team helped Ukraine's government build the first national online education platform for schools. Welcome, Zoya. I am so extremely grateful that you are here with us today.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everybody. And it's also a big honor and pleasure for me to join you here today because I strongly believe in philanthropy, and I'm sure that every one of us can make a difference. And that's what we teach children in Ukraine in all of my projects and what our teachers do. So thank you.
Thank you, Zoya. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
As you said, I'm Zoya, and I'm from Ukraine. I was born there, and interesting fact, I was born just a few days before the Chernobyl disaster and a few years before the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, turbulence is with me during all my life. 12 years ago, I dedicated myself to building a world-class system of education for the children of Ukraine, and I'm very passionate about education. I believe that education is the most powerful tool for improving the economy, the environment, and human well-being. And unfortunately, war very quickly destroys all three. And for 2 months, I'm a refugee now with 2 of my kids. I have amazing teenage boy and 1-year-old girl. And now we are here together since the beginning of war. Since on 24th of February, we woke up to the concussive sounds of bombs as windows of our house crashed in. My husband and my parents, they remain in Kiev, helping our country in every possible way. And me and my team, we also do the same. And now we are focused mainly on supporting the education for children that are refugees at the moment.
Thank you, Zoya. And our heart goes, to you and your family and your husband and your parents. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. So can you talk a little bit about the mission of your organization, Nos Vitoria, and what you're focused on?
Would love to. And if you don't mind, for this, I will share some slides that I prepared for you today. And before we start, I'd like to also tell you that my personal story brought me to education, and the name of my NGO is Osvitoria, as you may see. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Great. And Osvita, it means education in Ukrainian. And I think I end up in this field because of my family. I was raised by a single mom and grandmother, and they worked very hard so that I could have a good education. And they always told me, you know, Zoya, unfortunately, we don't have a legacy to leave you. We don't have property or money, but the best investment we might do is investment in your education. And thanks to their help, I earned scholarship to the best university of Ukraine. Then I did a successful career in big development company. And that's how I learned that actually education is the best investment that family can make in their children, and also government can make in its citizens. So that's why I'm in this field. This is my team. Okay. We'll do it like this. Oh, sorry. So the big idea of our NGO is to develop the human capital of Ukraine, and actually human capital of the world, because we are now all citizens of the world. And to achieve this goal, we work in three main directions. We create innovative educational projects. One of them is my Novopecherska school, which, by the way, was recognized by Microsoft company among 100 most innovative schools in the world. And actually, it's funny because we are fully equipped with Apple computers, not with Microsoft. And I was in a construction process of my second school, which is also in Kiev, and it should be focused on science, because this field will provide most of the jobs in future. We also do teachers training and development, because when you empower one teacher, you automatically empower hundreds of his students in his school career. And our third direction, which is most inspiring for me, is access to quality education, and one of the projects you already mentioned. This is my team. In Ukraine, like all over the world, we have gender inequality in education, 96% of women. So, but in all the world, it's a field entirely dominated by women. But we're working on it to improve this and to have more male role models for school children. And this is the school that I mentioned to you. I'm very proud of this project, and it's actually our like little R&D, research and development, for all the innovations and methods and techniques that then we scale for a whole school system. And actually, I'm especially proud that our school curriculum was used for the reform of national school system. So we achieved our goal. This is example from our training and development, in this case for school principal, and again, empowering the school principal, helping them to be better leaders. It automatically brings a great change to their teams and teachers in their teams. This is example of access to quality education. This is our program, First Profession, and we do it for orphans in orphanages that we still have in Ukraine. And by the time they graduate from that orphanage, they can have their first profession and they can earn money, and it's a guarantee. They shouldn't be afraid of unemployed future. They shouldn't be afraid that later on their children will be in the same orphanage. So when they graduate, they might have a diploma of certified pastry chef, or for example, a certified hairdresser, and they use these practical skills even while they are in the orphanage to create their dress for the graduation prompt, or to simply cut hair for their classmates. I'm very inspired with that project also. And this is example from our annual Teachers Award. for the best teachers of Ukraine. And it's not actually not a contest, it's a prize. It's something about prestige of profession, because to bring up kids that are happy and they're self-confident, you need to have teachers that feel themselves happy and they're also self-confident and respected by society. And again, it's a huge issue all over the world, not only in Ukraine. And why did we do this all? Another wise quote of amazing gentleman, Nelson Mandela, who said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And I usually say improve the world. And I also want to tell you, I want to give you a bit of information about Ukrainian system of education at the moment. So we have 5.8 million refugees that fled Ukraine for other countries, and they're all mainly women and children. Children actually half of that amount, 2.6 millions. And at school system of Ukraine, we have 16,000 schools, more than 400,000 teachers, and 4.2 million school children. Now, all of them, they can't continue their education because educational process completely stopped. You can't educate children when you have war in your country because it's dangerous. But in 2-3 weeks of war, it managed to move to online education. We now have 1,600 educational institutions that are critically damaged, like you can see on those photos, and 102 educational schools that are completely destroyed, like here. But education is unstoppable despite this, and our children, they continue to learn in bomb shelters, in refugee camps, in the underground that is now used as a bomb shelter also. And here on the photo, you can see Pani Olena. She's a professor of Kharkiv University that was partially destroyed. And since the beginning of war, every day she's a teacher for children in the underground station. So that's what we have in Ukrainian education at the moment.
Thank you. So yeah, this is heartbreaking, and I'm in awe of what you are doing, because what you told me in Vancouver was that this tool that you created during COVID has been what you are using right now to also teach children in the refugee camps, correct?
Yes, I will be glad to show it to you also, and it's called the Whole Ukrainian Online School. Actually, we created it for Ukrainian government, for President's Office and Ministry of Education at the beginning of COVID pandemic. And it's a school platform that brings every student in front of our very best teachers. It covers the entire secondary school curriculum. And, you know, we never imagined that this important project will be called upon in a time even more horrible than COVID, in war that we have now. And for many schools and many students, now it's the only place where they continue their education. I'm happy to say that by now we have almost 500,000 students that learn every day on this platform. They go through all the lessons, they make all the self-preparation tests, home tasks, and it's not only the place where they learn something new, it is also the space where they keep their important pre-war routines, where they still have their classmates around them, and where, despite everything, Ukraine continues to invest in them and in their future. And I really believe that it's important, and it gives me hope that in this horrible war, our teachers, they keep teaching and our students keep learning. Because if they do it, it means they believe in our future as a country, in their future in Ukraine. And in this way, they are fighting for their future. So I'm sure until they keep learning, even from bomb shelters, even while they are starving, it means we are unstoppable as a nation.
Thank you, Zoya. And you told me also the work that you're doing around mental health, right, for teachers. And apart from that, I also wanted to ask you, how do you see the role of us as everyday philanthropists in this work and generally in our future? How can we support your efforts?
I see that a huge challenge at the moment, that our teachers, they were not prepared how to deal with trauma, how to educate children that face the trauma, that face horrible things. They lost their parents in front of them, or they saw something even worse. I won't go into details, but I know you should know, what's going on in Ukraine, and it's so traumatic. And sometimes those children, really a lot of them, they don't have adults to help them. They lost all their family, and teachers, they are the only adults nearby, even when they are online, that can help children. And we have so many questions from teachers, how we may help. Should we ask and go deeper into details, or we should not? And my big idea at the moment, to create an online course for Ukrainian teachers that would prepare them for the next school year and would help them to be better teachers for traumatized children. And now all our 4.2 school children are traumatized. That's the reality.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Zoya. And I want to open it up, if you're okay with that, for questions. If anybody has questions or you have a comment, you want to say something to Zoya, feel free to put it in the chat or to unmute. Anyone has a question for Zoya?
Yes.
Yes, JC.
So what's your what do you plan to do on the next year? How do you plan to evolve this despite the war?
So my personal plans, and thank you for this question, they really depend on plans of government. And yesterday I had a conversation with our Minister of Education and Minister of Infrastructure, and they will do everything during the summer to restart the educational process in September. And it means we need to speed up to have all the teachers prepared for that process. And that's what we are focusing on. We will also create the second part of the platform. I told you that we have it for the secondary school. Now we will need content for the primary school. And it will even help with blended learning, when teachers in class can use this content in their home tasks, or if some kids are unable to visit the school, they will use it. And it's important because now in Ukraine, we might have 6 or 9 alarms that says you to run to bomb shelter, and you might be obliged to stay there for 5 to 9 hours in a row. And again, it means kids could continue learning even there. So that will be the biggest issue. Another initiative that we are focusing on is helping to restart education in those schools that were destroyed. We will train the teams of those schools. They will be newly gathered teams. And also we will do some help with equipment, etc.
Thank you, Zoya. Anyone else? Masha, I see you. Anyone else has a question or a comment? Go, Mashita.
Hi, Zoya. My name is Masha. I'm a Russian immigrant. Just want to thank you and say I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And sometimes it's hard for me to even join, you know, opportunities like this, but I must because I have a baby in the other room and I want a better life for all of our babies. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for taking care of so many families during such a horrific time. You are a hero and we are with you. So that's it. My question to you is, how are you taking care of yourself, Zoya?
Masha, thank you very much for saying this, and thank you for mentioning your roots. It really gives me hope then when I meet somebody from Russia or Russian who is against the war, because according to the research, those people who live in Russia, like 80% of them, they support war. And it's difficult for me to blame them because all the Russian TV is controlled by Russian presidents and propaganda works. How I take care about myself? Not enough, let's say, but I'm still on a stage of denial. So every morning when I wake up, and today is the 80th days of war. And every morning in that 80 days, I have a few seconds when I tell myself, okay, now I'm going to open my eyes and I will be at home. And it was just a nightmare. But unfortunately, every time I'm a refugee with my children, not at home. What helps me a lot, and it helps me when I'm helping others. And I believe that maybe that's why you are here today. When I feel that I'm helping my country, I'm helping to minimize the multiple implications of war, I'm helping in any possible way, it's about my mental health also. And that's why I believe it's important to teach children to be philanthropists and to help others, even when they are very young. So thank you for this question.
Thank you, Zoya. Thank you, Masha. I think we have a couple more minutes. If anyone wants to say something or to ask a question. Zoya, we're full of gratitude for you for being here, and that you know that here we know that many people wanted to be here. They couldn't be here, but at least we're here 33 people that are with you, our hearts, our minds, our wills to work alongside you and helping whatever we can, even though we're on the other side of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I feel your support, and we can't, despite we stand heroically as Ukrainians, we cannot stand alone. So it gives me a lot of hope when I participate in such an event like today, and I feel that support from all over the world, and I wish that governments could be as supportive as people. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Zoya. And you mentioned something really important, and it's not only the financial support, and we'll talk about that, is our voices and how can we elevate our voices to bring support to your country and to your people. Thank you so much. Yes, Michael, for sure. We can be multipliers of the love of humanity. Thank you. Last opportunity to talk to Zoya. Anybody?
I have another question.
Yes, Juan Carlos.
So Zoya, what gives you the most joy when you wake up these days?
The answer is very simple. My children. I always knew that as a parents, we are a huge support for our children. They depend on us, but now during war, I realized that we also depend on our children, and I simply can't let myself break down or stop going because I have them nearby. next to me. And now they turned to be my support and my reason to keep going. And it's funny, but it works like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoya. I see one question in the chat that says, where has your organization gotten financial support so far?
So far, when I went to TED conference, I managed to raise some support from Ukraine, from the audience of TED Talks, then from just private people who went on our website and did some donations. And now we are also working with UNICEF. They are doing an amazing job in terms of collecting small money from philanthropists around the world. In cafeterias, in the airports, when you buy something, you can add a few cents, few dollars to support the children of Ukraine. And in terms of education, we will support their projects in Ukraine. And like we're doing this partnership. And I'm very happy because, again, I am an impact entrepreneur, and I had a profit from my school that I used to reinvest in my team salaries. Now I have 200 team members, which don't have salary because I don't have profit, but now they will do these projects all together for UNICEF, and I will support them like this.
Thank you so much, Zoya. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch. It was a pleasure to see you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Okay, people. It is extremely tough, and it puts a lot of things into perspective. But again, you know, going back to Lara, and that is why we invited Lara to share her research. And now it's time to do something about it. And every donation helps. It doesn't matter the size. Do a gift that is significant for you. We're going to keep this link open too. So as Michael was saying, we can share it. Like if you can share it with your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors in the next, couple of days, let's try to raise as much money as we can. We're looking at how the donation page works. There is a tip section. You can leave a tip for Grapevine. You can pick the amount of the tip that you want to give. And again, it's when you give something, when you support people, it fills you with joy, and you don't feel helpless anymore. And while we're doing that, I need to make my donation too. But and I want to say something, because you will see the heart of this woman that was just speaking to us. We offer Zoya a small honorarium just to come and speak with us. And she said, please don't give me anything, just, make a donation to the organization. So that tells you a lot of where her heart is. So we are going to give some minutes for you to donate what you can. And we were going to be refreshing and showing the page on Grapevine. We're doing that. And Isis, do you want to come off mute and share some much here?
Yeah, just that I really invite everyone to think about sort of your thoughts around Ukraine over the past 80 days, as Zoya was talking about, and what have you done to move resources in that direction? And I know a lot of you have already done something, and so really want to recognize and honor that. And for those who haven't but who are looking for an opportunity, this is a chance for you to do so. So we're so excited to be able to offer that in a space of collaboration and communality with everybody here. There's a question in the chat on how we decided on the goal of 5,000. That's a really good question. We have over 1,000 people attending We Give Summit, which is incredible. If every one of those folks gave $10, right, that would be 10,000. And so we thought 5,000 was more than fair for us to try to hit. Hopefully we can raise even more. I know we only have about 30 folks on this Zoom with us today in the pop-up circle, but this is an opportunity for anybody, if you're watching this Zoom 10 weeks from now or 5 days from now, to still give. So we'll keep those funding going to Zoya's amazing organization. Thanks for that question, Josephine.
Okay, and we are at 3,825 so far. That's what I see. But yeah, going after what Isis said, you know me, and whoever knows me, I wanted to put 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, but then we said, okay, it's Saturday morning, we don't know how many people are going to come, but that is what we want. Let's exceed this goal. Let's share it with our families all over the world. And now I want to talk about the main important part that we can do, and that all giving circles do, is engaging beyond your financial gift. Let's not stop here. Follow Os Victoria's and Zoya's social media channels. Share their work with everybody, with all your networks. Give your 5 T's, people: time, talent, testimony, treasure, and ties. Even if we're in the other side of the world, we can take some time. If you are, good creating graphics, do something to create a campaign to support them. Advocate, hold our leaders accountable, right? To ensuring relief efforts, like what she said. She hopes governments will be more vocal, and we can help with that. Educate your peers. Masha, thank you for sharing your testimony as a Russian immigrant, and for sharing your solidarity with Ukraine. And I know you're extremely vocal on your social media, and I really admire that. Volunteer. We know that there are many families that are being relocated in the country too. So maybe you can, reach out to those organizations, and we will be sharing some resources also on Huba. We will make sure to put them there. And then again, join or start a giving circle if you don't have a giving circle right now. If you know someone that wants to start a giving circle, we are going to have a Launchpad, which is our Giving Circle incubator. We have a 90-minute training, like express training. I know, Juan Carlos, you said you want to start a Giving Circle, and I'm going to, hold you accountable on the 24th. We will be offering this training twice that day, and then we have other trainings throughout the year. So, Kaison, I don't know if we can share the screen of the Grapevine to see how we did. Okay. Let's see if we can share the screen. Are you having trouble sharing the screen? If not, okay, here it is. Isis. Okay, thank you so much. Look where we are. Thank you so much. I am totally confident that, in the next couple of days, we will be able to surpass this goal, and maybe we can move the goal a little bit up. Thank you so much. Yes, we will add the name of the organization here, and also we will add it on the Grapevine too. Thank you for joining us today and for joining us at We Give Summit. Our We Give Summit 2022 wouldn't have been possible without the work and the commitment of our amazing steering committee. We have a steering committee of more than 30 people, and some of them are here with us today. So thank you. A group of more than 30 Giving Circle leaders and supporters from around the world, and they have been working alongside with our team since last year, since October or November, to put this event together and figure out the agenda and everything. And also, I want to thank our sponsors, for believing in us, for helping bringing all of us together. Thank you to all our partners, our networks of giving circles. Thank you for spreading the word and convening this field and for showing up. And I want to introduce and thank from the bottom of my heart to my incredible team at Philanthropy Together that are the motor of this summit. So you have seen Isis here today, and Kaison, can you wave? And Kelsey, I see you there, Kelsey, Ilyasa, Melissa, and Ty, and oh my God, you guys are the best team that anyone can ask for, because you do everything with heart and joy and love and power. And I'm just honored to be working alongside all of you. And just to end, I want to thank all of you for spending these past few days with us, for showing up, and for being part of this incredible Giving Circle movement, because I really believe we are the future of philanthropy. And the more we engage people in, again, shifting this love of humanity into all of our hands, we are going to be shifting not only who gives, but how we give and what gets funded. We cannot wait for, the 30 billionaires in this world to decide what gets funded. We can take that work on all of our hands. So thank you so much, everyone. Please share the Grapevine link with everybody, and let's raise so much more money for Zoya's organization. And enjoy your Saturday and your weekend. I love you all.
Before folks hop, I just want to say we're currently at $4,895.
Awesome.
Keep sharing it.
Keep sharing it. Oh, and before we go, my God, we have a poll. We have a two question poll.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we need the poll. I don't know where the poll is. Okay.
There it is. Thank y'all. It's been so fun. Okay.
And we will be sending a survey around We Give Summit. Please give us your feedback. We are a mini innovation lab, and we're always tweaking and making our programs better, but we need your feedback. Thank you.
Love you guys. Good job.
Love y'all.
Thank you.
Love you.